Ooh, this is me, Mr. B. Bankston, with yet another hot topic for my 2 subscribers. I want to monetize this to make all the money available to me. You think that will be 25 cents? How exciting. Can one buy a gumball for 25 cents? Tonight's topic, very controversial topic, Michael Jackson. And perhaps myself. Full disclosure, I am a homosexual. Oh. Not only am I homosexual, I was born a homosexual. And this homosexual is rather fond of men. Big, brawny men that can take control of a situation. Unfortunately, I always seem to be the one taking control of the situation. I find a football player, and before I know it, he's running around with Bo Peep curls. Enough said about me. Poor Michael. I have no idea if he actually liked children. You know, the human being touches their face some 2,000 times an hour or a minute or something. I've noticed that since I've been making these videos. Michael Jackson was a genius. Now, he might not have been your type of genius, but nonetheless, he was a genius. If the proof is in the pudding that money is in fact the litmus test for success, he certainly won. I do believe he had an abusive father and a mother in denial and a group dynamic of a large family coming from lower income sources that fought their way through whatever they had to fight their way through to get to where they got. But at the end of the day, the young man had the music in him. He had the music in him. He lived a relatively successful life for decades and ran around with a rather eccentric group of people. I mean, his friends were Diana Ross and Elizabeth Taylor. His idol was Fred Astaire and Sammy Davis Jr. He seemed to bang his own drum. His philosophy, from what I understand, not having met him, do you think I plucked my eyebrow there too much? Was watch the best and be better. He did the halftime show at that football thing everybody's so crazy about. And I'm quite sure that audience was not his. At the end of the show, they were, which shows true genius. For somebody of a different race, generally speaking, subject to skin bleaching and whatnot, and sequin jackets, and songs about all kind of frivolity, to get the manly men on board is a bit of genius. Can we agree? I do. And since I'm talking, there's not much you can say. You can comment, but I can delete. So sometime along his history, he discovers this angst, this pain, this desire for a childhood he never had. And in his multi-millions of dollars, builds an amusement park called Wonderland, which attracts who else? Children. Something he desperately, well, desperately might be the wrong word, greatly desired to be around because of their innocence, because of their unfettered access to emotion that they might be willing to release, whereas the rest of the world perhaps had an agenda, i.e., paycheck, being in the will, private flights, watches, cars, God knows what. Some of them were quite famous. Macaulay Culkin, something about the Plaza Hotel in a movie, I don't know. I remember the commercial he made, or the statement he made, where he was humiliated and these charges would be exonerated, and the things he had to go through were such horrific acts that he just couldn't even imagine. One of them, I believe, was photographing his penis. I don't know about you, but it better be pretty warm in the room if they're going to photograph my penis. And knowing anything, people talk, and people love information, and people, especially people in power, especially in blue polyester power, might leak those photos. Who wants that? Little do we know, he wasn't really bleaching his skin to become white. He was bleaching his skin because he had vitiligo. My mother had some M-word disease. She had white spots all over herself. She didn't have millions of dollars to fix it. He did. So, in his effort to look good, which is his right and probably his responsibility as a rock star, he did so. $32 million later, it was settled out of court. I believe that young man might have killed himself. Was his name Chandler? If I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments. Again, a disclosure. I do not want to be an historian. I just want to be your average Joe named Bankston who wants to give you his opinion. There was a secret room in the Neverland Ranch, and in the secret room there was pornography. Now, I don't know about straight people as much as I know about gay people, but I know an awful lot of straight people. And prior to the internet, we all had spank banks. But his porno involved children with defecation on them and S&M photos and all kind of things. Now, as a person that was in the fashion business, lived at a nightclub called Studio 54, and ran with some of the most elite sickos in the world, I find it hard to believe that he had this spank bank of material that I had yet to glimpse upon. Not his in particular, and I certainly glimpsed upon some of it, or the subjects there are, but the whole thing just stinks. I'd like to say it's as simple as he's black and he was too successful, so the white racists wanted to crush him. Being gay, though, I think it's much easier to believe that let's tie pedophilia in with homosexuality. People will swallow that and will have another claim to fame to ruin their power as a voting bloc. What do you think? I think that would be horrible if it was true. My father raised me. And my father, by the way, is one of the greatest people in the world. Every boy says that about his son. My father is not an easy man. My father is a difficult man. My father went through hell and back. He's first generation Italian, and he comes from a family, without making too much disclosures, that was somewhat dysfunctional. He was scared by World War II, and he made it through. He married a woman, and he had two sons, and he did beyond better than he could with the problems presented to him that didn't even exist in his culture. I love my daddy. My daddy's a good man. But he installed fear in me. He was obsessed with the fact that if you were gay, the world was against you, and they would do anything they could, especially if you got in any sort of position of power, financially, politically, or otherwise, to destroy you. I didn't really believe that, yet it left a mark. That's a quote from the Little Rascals. Here's another quote from the Little Rascals. Spanky, says Darla, we're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can you imagine? In those days, hundreds of thousands of dollars was a big deal. Let's not digress, keep going on. So this fear had been installed in me, and Michael Jackson's a child molester, and oh, bye, me, moo, ma, blah, blah. The first thing you have to ask yourself, I would think, I'm not a detective, nor do I understand the ways and the words of people that are in such behaviors. Hey, I have $38 million to shut somebody up. Perhaps I want to get on my private jet and go to Prague to do my business. Perhaps I want to procure the best in the business and get people that can keep this downplayed. I don't know, call me crazy. Who the hell wants to be called a child molester? Macaulay Culkin says nothing ever happened. So, Michael Jackson, certainly one of the greatest artists in the world, dancers, singers, has a drug problem. Big news. So did Elvis Presley, who, by the way, married a 14-year-old girl. I guess it doesn't count if she doesn't have externals rather than internals. Find some crazy doctor from God knows where to get him propentanol, and he's too busy dealing with his personal life to make sure that he doesn't die, and he dies, and all kind of hell breaks loose. I guess what I'd like to say is, it is my concerted opinion, in a land where we can vote Barack Obama as the president for 8 years, turn around and elect Donald Trump for at least 4, have warlords like Bush, who has daddy issues, goes to NA meetings because of his cocaine problem, has to stomach the fact that his wife killed somebody using in a car accident. It's all just so awful. Who doesn't have sin? Sin not in the Catholic sense or the Christian sense, but in the sense of major error. I'm really sorry if that happened to those boys and girls. I'm more sorry if their parents manipulated them to do what I think their parents manipulated them to do. Because apparently suicide is one of the side effects. Money's an ugly thing. One of my father's expressions is, and before you get too excited, he's not a gangster, graduate of St. John's University, lawyer, retail entrepreneur extraordinaire, fabulous father. But tongue in cheek, one of his favorite expressions was, some people need a little shooting. And guess what? He's right. Some people do need a little shooting. Love each other. Don't take everything on face value. As a matter of fact, reject face value. Play the devil's advocate for a while. Don't just swallow everything at whole. Some people are horrible, and some people aren't. Right now, we seem to have a commander-in-chief who's in bed with Russians, something about urinating on beds, blackmail, son-in-laws that are billionaires that are not saying what they did, daughters that are selling $10,000 bracelets. Greed is never ending. Why are we worrying about Michael Jackson when the United States as we know it might be becoming an oligarch? It's a fancy word for a kingdom. I guess Donald could have a little liposuction and a personal trainer, and he too could have his picture taken in a river with his shirt off. How exciting would that be? You have a great day, and remember, teach only love, because that is who you are.